first learned about the Digital Citizenship Summit, or all the summits you've been doing. I wrote in a little bit about my work at BrainPop, of course, around digital citizenship and helping, update and put out the kind of content that kids can use directly. But also a little bit about my experience as a speaker with parents, and my experience of really listening to kids and how much that helps. So I really connected to Michelle, to all her parents yesterday who spoke. And I really have been very inspired by how the top value of this summit is around kids count. And so we're going to hear from a few different kids and adults together. One of the things I try to communicate to parents is that you still matter, and your long-term perspective on life and life experience is really important to share with kids, but at the same time to be listening to the experiences that they have as well. So many of you have already synthesized many of my thoughts about this, so I just want to take my own advice and listen to the kids, and so come on up, guys. We're going to hear from Mary Alice Curran and Curran D. We're going to hear from Rachel Moran and Alicia Besley, and also Megan Davis, Mark Amador, and Matt Bennett from Brave Girls. So I'm really excited. I've got to meet a lot of you already during the time that we spent at different tables and at meals together. So the format of this is going to be the verse speaker format, and we're going to have about 7 minutes total, I believe. So speak quickly and about your experiences.
So we clustered these together. So Mary Alice and Curran represent a family situation, parent and child. Alicia and Rachel, teacher student. And then the Brave team, mentor, mentees, or team leader, team members. So we tried to bring different sectors, different settings, okay?
Let's start.
So I'm Mary Alice.
And I'm Curran.
And we're a mother and son digital citizenship team. And we've really been doing this. You got to share yesterday. How did it all start?
It started, well, I was on the panel yesterday.
No, but how did our story start?
By me going to my mom's college classes.
So I was a professor at the University of St. Joseph in the School of Education. I was the faculty member on record for the Ed Tech program. And I noticed that we had all these Ed Tech courses, and digital citizenship was like a part of it, but it was only like a part of a course. And then I saw that this was the case in the majority of Ed Tech courses, as well as Ed Tech conferences, bullying conferences. It was always an add-on. So I created the first all 3-credit digital citizenship course, both at the undergrad and the graduate level. And then that just led to more courses, first-year seminars. But when you were little and we didn't have a babysitter, what happened?
I would go to your college class.
Yeah, and every undergrad or grad was like, I want that kid, he's going to be my partner for the day. And so it started very organically that you just were involved with connected learning opportunities, and then it grew. And what was the big project that happened, the first project that I was doing with my undergraduates that you were like, Argentina! And then you'd be like, where's Argentina? So I literally took out like a world map. You were in it, do you remember?
Yeah.
And we were finding locations. It was such authentic learning, like at the best. And that is what got you into the very next day. Do you remember what you asked? You were only in the first grade then.
Can I have my own blog?
And I thought, why do you need a blog?
So I can keep learning about the world.
And I was like, okay, we're taking a new step. So you started to blog, and from that, then at the end of the first grade, you had this great project.
The Rainforest Animal Project. We got this packet sent home, and on the first page was all the animals we could research from. The second page was fill in the blanks about the animal. The third page was like a diorama, and the fourth page was like...
And what did you eat? Yeah, so it's just a packet. Probably that I might have done when I was in elementary school in the 1970s. When you came home on your own, what did you ask?
I don't want to learn about these animals on the list. I want to learn about different animals in the rainforest that most people haven't heard about.
So you asked, Mom, you said, can I blog about this, and will you tweet it out? And now this is the start about, wow, this isn't just working with some of my undergrad and graduate students, this is like a whole new level. Okay, you're not 13 for some of these social media tools, but you have an understanding in the first grade, the power of being connected. That if you blog about it and I tweet it out, it's gonna go viral, which it did, just like the Tweet Heard Around the World project. And so this was really where it's like learning side by side. This was like our opportunity, that this was like training wheels, driver's ed, learning the rules of the road together. And so, you want to tell them quickly about that project?
So I probably got like around 100 responses, and I researched every single animal, and then I put my favorites into like my top 10, my top 5, and then I finally got my final choice, the Bitteron.
Okay, anybody know about a Bitteron? Why'd you pick him?
Because he smells like buttered popcorn.
Okay, what's better than buttered popcorn when you're in the first grade? He was like the coolest animal ever. And we got this, the Bitteron came from some place, it was like a rainforest account, I think it was in South America. I mean, it was another authentic, looked like teachable moment about totally being engaged. So we have, and you can see this slide, so fortunate to learn really with unbelievable people side by side. We talked about it yesterday, about having a neighborhood watch. You have not only people in your own neighborhood and here, but like an online neighborhood, a global neighborhood. And all of these experiences have provided more opportunities. Like this morning, we want to share. Go ahead, I'll hold one and you hold one. So this morning, we got up extra early to talk to Mary Jallen, Mrs. Jallen's class in Scotland, to connect. She's one of our favorite. You want to tell the story about the Skype-a-thon last year?
So last year we were doing the Skype-a-thon, and we Skyped in, and it was St. Andrew's Day for them, but we didn't know it. And I don't get these connected learning opportunities at my school, so we did it in the morning. And because of the time difference, it worked out. And then they sang us the Flag of Scotland for St. Andrew's Day.
Okay, and it was like one of the highlights, I have to tell you, that we experienced, because how would we know about St. Andrew's Day? We could read about it, but we experienced it with a classroom, Mrs. Jallen. So this is a shout out to Mrs. Jallen's classroom in Scotland. They're like our favorite classroom. I will make sure that everybody has her Twitter handle because she's incredible, and she always wants to break down classroom walls and learn with others. So this morning, we woke up extra early. This is a book called Spy Quest. And if you look at the Twitter handle Spy Quest, this is an opportunity for digital literacy and AR. Jamie Donnelly was like blown away what you not only can read this book, but you can experience this book. You can be a part of this adventure. And you want to tell them, what did we get to do with Mary Jallen's class today?
So this year she has a classroom of first graders, and we Skyped in this morning. And they have elephants in the room that they travel all around the world, and they do different missions. And we asked if one of them could do a Digital Kids mission about being that kind of kid. Yeah, so the fact that we got to connect Scotland with the DigCitSummit here in Utah, they want to take the message of being a digital kid, which is be that kind of kid, that we're going to go viral with some kindness. We're so excited. And so the author was there. William Jenkins was there, the organizer of the DigCitSummit UK. And it was just, and all these kids, and his son Isaac was there, and so we're all become agents, spy agents. And it's global, and it's just another perfect example of learning side by side. You know, you act locally and you get to live globally, and it's amazing, and it's been an incredible journey, and I thank everybody for being a part of it. Thank you.
My name is Rachel Morat, and I'm a teacher at Mayneville High School, which is right outside of Binghamton, New York.
And my name is Alicia Besley. I am a former student of Rachel Morat, and I am currently in my freshman year of college.
So up on the board, you're going to see a map, and on that map, there are pins placed. And where this came from was I was doing we're doing a project on haters and trolls in my digital citizenship class, and we unfortunately got a very real world experience of the negativity online because we happened to be doing that project when the shootings in Las Vegas happened, and the kids were just outraged that the negativity that was directed towards the victims when that was not what should have been happening online. So they said, we are tired of the negativity, we need to do something positive. We gotta put some positivity out there. So we brainstormed what we were gonna do, and we were gonna have a week of positivity, which actually coincided with DigCit week, so it worked out really well. I planned that. And
And we got up early for this.
yes, we did, yes. So they came up with a whole bunch of activities they wanted to do. We were working on it all week, and then they decided they wanted to do a Twitter chat on Friday morning, the 20th of October. And so I reached out to my PLN to see if they could help us out. And the kids learned about TweetDeck. They learned how to schedule tweets. They learned how to manage a chat. They moderated. I literally was just walking around the room in awe of what happened. So 7:45 hits in the morning, and it was dead silent in my room because the kids were so excited to see all of the tweets, and one of the girls kept yelling, "Oh my gosh, there's Argentina! Oh my gosh, there's Australia! Oh my gosh, China! Oh my gosh!" She just kept going on. And I was really more about the chat, not where it was going, and I was like, okay, we'll worry about that later, and she kept going, and I said, you know what? Monday, we'll map it. So I had them drop a pin of each of the unique places. So that was the United States, and then the next slide has, I think, yep. So we hit 5 continents, and this is a half-hour chat. There were more than 1,000 tweets in this half-hour chat, and we hit 5 continents, and we were the #1 trending hashtag for that half an hour, and it was totally based on what the kids were doing. They wanted to spread positivity. So the hashtags were DigCit and Positively Kind. They came up with the questions, they moderated the chat, they interacted with the chat, they did everything of it. And they are still talking about the difference that they made and the ripples of positivity that they had in this chat. And I think that giving them the opportunity to realize that they can make a difference. And you look at the map, and we made it all around the globe. And I thought that was pretty awesome, considering 2 weeks or 3 weeks before that, they didn't necessarily know what a Twitter chat was. And so that was really exciting. So the next part I want to talk about is, so this morning I had some of my DigCit kids post a Flipgrid video. Anybody know what Flipgrid is? Okay, we're all gonna know about Flipgrid in a minute.
We're all getting fever.
We are getting Flipgrid fever. So I had them post a couple questions for our audience members, and I'm hoping, after I show you the power of this, that you would be willing to engage with my students, and then that creates a conversation that was not possible before we had this use of technology for good. So, all right, so we're gonna watch Riley.
Hi, my name is Riley Phillips, and one question I have for the participants of the Digital Citizenship Summit is, how can I motivate others to become digital leaders?
So she put that post up there, and then I asked Mary Alice to respond just so that we could show how this process works.
Hey, it's Mary Alice, and we're at the DigCitSummit in Utah. Yeah, we got Jamie, Donnelly, Carmen, you want to say hi? And we think, to answer that question, Riley, you are already doing it. You are doing it in your classroom every single day. You are a leader. Your whole district is doing it every single day. Your teacher, Mrs. Murat, is incredible. And really, the best thing that you can do is lead by example and invite us to be a part of your narrative.
Okay,
and
so
that's what you're doing
you
with
can
this
see
Flipgrid.
that Mary Alice loves to talk, but you can see the fact that we have that engagement, right? That excitement. So the kids are able to see the responses to that. So what I'm hoping for you is that once I put the Derek puts the code up there, is that you would engage with my students, and you can do that one of 2 ways. If you have the Flipgrid app on your phone or your tablet or whatever, you just click on it, the app, and then you would put that code in, which is F93, B as in boy, E as in Edward, B as in boy. Or you go to flipgrid.com and you put that code in, and it's really easy to respond to any of them. If you want to ask questions to them, then I can have them answer back on Monday. And it's just an amazing way to get their learning beyond our classroom and to engage with people that they did not have the ability to do that with before. So
We brought a Flipgrid tent that we will put up. So don't worry about if you don't have the code or not. We'll man it. And we started a Flipgrid as well for Scotland and our Spy Quest. So we'll man the Flipgrid fever today.
And Flipgrid is something that's free, it's extremely easy to use, and it's something that really, it makes a difference in the classroom, and it allows conversations that haven't been happening before.
Alicia, can you take 30 seconds and tell them about Positively Social?
Sure. So Positively Social was a documentary that we made in our digital citizenship class, and we wanted to make our own representation because out there on everything that we saw with technology was super negative, and it really revolved around the negativity of social media and how it can fall into that trap. And we were like, well, let's change that. So we delved into Positively Social and talked about how our classroom experience with Mrs. Murat, and it was really cool to see how everyone had their own take on it and perspective. As you went through, you can tell that each student did their own projects, and each project that we did provided more freedom than you'd really see, because in other classrooms we'd have a set syllabus, and with the criteria you usually stayed true to that and had very little room for freedom. But with everything we did, we chose platforms, we had freedom, and any platform we wanted to do, you just had to change it for the next time, but it was different per person. So everyone had their own experience. And it's 12 minutes on YouTube. You can look it up as Positively Social.
And we're showing it at 2 of the community events, 2 of the Use Tech for Good events today.
Yes, we are. And so yeah, we basically went through, and it talks a little bit about Mrs. Murat, and we talked about our own Digital Citizenship Summit that we did at our school, and me and another student had talked about that. And yeah, it was really, really cool, and it really conveyed the positive aspects of social media and totally brought it into the light rather than how it's hard on teenagers, but it really showed that when you bring it into education, it's super, super awesome.
Do you want to talk about the TEDx talk that you did? What point social media for you?
So I will give him a shout out too. I talked about it a little bit last night, but my other a friend of mine, Casey, who also did his speech, he did it on how he used branding and everything with his brand for social media, and how he's a writer, and he's 17 now, and that's awesome. He's my own inspiration. And I also talked about how the LGBTQ community, specifically for myself, is something that I sourced through social media at a very young age. And I think in previous generations, I've talked to friends of mine that are older, and they've approached it with a really negative, like, hey, I'm really sorry you're going through this. And I wanted to look at them and be like, this is awesome, this is great, this is nothing to apologize for, this is really awesome. And when you can outsource in parts of the world that you've never even been to, there are people that go through the same exact experiences that you are, and you're not alone. And I think that in itself is beautiful. So although you're alone in your room and you're going through your own thing, everyone fights their own battles, and there's somebody out there that is fighting that same battle as you. And just the smartphone in your pocket can connect you and make you not feel alone. So that was also really, really cool. So
Thank you.
What's up, y'all? What is up? So my name is Megan. I am the founder and CEO of a nonprofit called Brave. And I'm here with 2 awesome humans that are students that work with me. And the first thing, though, before we get started, that we do at Brave, and you might have seen it among us here today and yesterday, is that when we believe in celebrating one another, and that has tremendous power and value, and it also just feels really good to give it and receive it. So we have a tradition of what we call snaps and claps. So I like to say, throw some snaps and claps at stuff or ideas or feelings or comments that you think are beautiful or important or whatever that is. So as we speak, I'm going to ask y'all to throw us some snaps and claps if you love what we have to say. Does that sound like something we could do? All right. I can't snap, so I actually do claps in sign language, which many of you may have seen. So feel free to mix it up and be creative. So give me some love with your snaps and claps right now. See, doesn't that just feel good? Thank you. I feel better already. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about our relationship and as colleagues. And so our mission at Brave is to inspire and challenge all humans to be brave and self-empowered contributors to a better world. And everything that we do is a vehicle through which students go on this journey themselves to try to do it.
And so everything that we do, right, is kind of like meta, right? So it's more about the process than the product, and every single thing that we do is student-driven and student-run. So Jemiah, who's sitting over here, she is our communications coordinator. There is not an adult who has a higher rate than her in our communications. That's just how we roll. So students run the show. They are the bosses, they are the workers, they are the inspiration, they are everything. They're the talent. I'm kind of just along for the ride. But it's an awesome thing. And Mara, that's here, they are our elementary programs coordinator. So they came to me when I first met them and said, hey, why don't we do anything with elementary schools? And I was like, that's a really good point. I don't know why we don't. And so now we work with like 150 elementary school students once a week. So like that's pretty cool. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how our work and collaboration together manifests in digital space, but it really starts in personal space, right? And in our conversations and interactions with one another. And so one thing that I'll say is that this kind of collaborative experience with adults and students is intentional. It has to be intentional. It can't be something that we like wait to see if it happens, or that we think it only happens with some students, right? Like that some students we can do it with, but other students we can't. That's bogus. You can do it with any student of any age, anywhere, anytime, any skill set, any strengths, it doesn't matter. But you have to be intentional, right? We have to do it on purpose. And I also think that it's built into the philosophy and the culture, right? The intangible culture of our organization is what we are about. And we talk about that and we're transparent about that from the second that people come to interview to be part of what we do. So it's part of that intangible space, right? But it's also built into our structure. Like it's part of the structure and the culture, and so it becomes easier and easier for it to happen organically and happen naturally, and we get better and better at it the more we do it. And so I just really think that that's such an important thing, and it will look differently in each of your classrooms, in each of your organizational spaces and business spaces and all that kind of stuff, but we need to be intentional, and we need to put it into our philosophy and our vision and our culture, and we also need to put it into our structure because it needs to happen everywhere. And so one thing that I'll say too is that at the very foundation of this whole thing, it's about bringing diverse voices to the table, right? That's the whole thing of what it's about, and that's why students' voices matter, is because their voices are different than mine, right? And so we have to think about it that way, is that our tables and our conversations need to be diverse, and we need to look around and say who's missing from this space. And I believe that if students ran the world and students ran more organizations and businesses, our world would be much more beautiful than it is right now. And so just overall, that's a big message that we believe in, right? We have to make our spaces more diverse with student voices, but with all human voices, like all different kinds, all different ages, all different races and ethnicities and gender identities and sexualities and religions and places of origin and all that kind of stuff, because that's how we're going to get better. And for the most part, students have helped me realize and see that with evidence. And so it's amazing what they have been able to accomplish when you give them the chance. I always say if you give students the opportunity, they will never disappoint you and they will always impress you, always. They'll do it better than you ever thought they could do. And that is just, I don't know, it's rewarding and inspires me over and over every day. So Jemiah and Mark are going to talk a little bit about their work, but I just want to mention, so we have a lot of digital spaces. We have a blog that was invented, created by a student, and is completely run by students. We have a website completely designed by a 17-year-old kid. If you check it out, I have nothing to do with that at all. She's awesome. We have a bunch of social media platforms. I mean, yeah, she's at Yale right now, but I'll let you know if I don't hire her, so we'll talk. We have a YouTube channel. One thing we do a lot of is even emails. We don't really do a lot of work deliberately teaching young people how to exist professionally in digital space, and that's not just about social media. Like, I know as an educator, like, I get emails from students, and like, there's no subject line, and they're asking me, right, about, class, and so how can we teach them how to be more professional with their emails? But we are dedicated to being lifelong learners and developing as professionals and leaders and building our character, and it's about co-creation from the very beginning. So between it and among one another as well, but I have taken too much time, and I'm going to pass it over to these two.
Hi, my name is Mar Amador. I am a student at the University of Connecticut, and I've been a part of Brave Girls Leadership for 3 years now, which has been amazing. When I first began with Brave, I was a very shy and very nervous freshman in college, and I wanted to be a part of something that was going to be impactful. Starting out with Brave, I didn't have a lot of confidence in my skills, but definitely through the development of leadership skills and communication, I've been able to develop that. When I began, I was a mentor at Smith Elementary. This was a position that had never existed before, and Megan basically proposed it to me and said, it's going to be a lot of work, but I believe in you, you have the passion to do this, and you're not going to be alone, and we're going to figure this out together and make it work. She's awesome. Like, for the person hiring you, who like you hardly know, and you're like, I know this is going to be scary, but we're going to figure it out together, is like such an awesome, like, welcoming into an organization. So through each meeting, every single time we finished, we had feedback. It's something that is so important, and one of our expectations in Brave is that we're being honest with one another and we're communicating with one another. If I'm ever overwhelmed with work, I know I can go to Megan and let her know, hey, I really don't know how to do this, I need some support, how can we make this work? And together, we talk, we go through our teams of interns, and we figure out how can we best succeed in this goal that we're having. Because we definitely never want to give up on these goals because they're important to us, so we figure out who can I rely on, especially like Jemiah, for example. Like, hey Jay, I don't know how to share this awesome event my students want to do.
I got you.
Yeah, so how can we broadcast this? A lot of the stuff we do is based from the students' perspective, and we use social media to celebrate them.
My name is Jemiah, or Jay. I am a sophomore at the University of Connecticut, and I've been with Brave for a little over a year now, and as Meg said, I'm a communications coordinator. But Brave has really helped me kind of just be more comfortable expressing myself and not being afraid to work with older people and tell them like how I feel, what I think, give some ideas. For example, we went to the United Nations in New York in October for the International Day of the Girl, and yeah, we did. I took some videos and pictures along the way, and I got back home in my dorm, and I was like, oh, what should I do? So I made a video for it, and then I sent it to Meg, and she's like, we're using this. And I was like, yeah, that's fine with me. And a lot of videos have come about that way. That's just one example, but there are many, many more, so feel free to come and chat. We love talking about it. And yeah, there's a lot more to say about it, so see us later.
Do you feel how the energy it amps up when you've got these partnerships of adults and young adults or youth working together? Please give them another hand.